Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And if you are a YouTube user, enable notifications so you know every time there's a new episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. While you're at it, if you're sick and tired of spending $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game every year, stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create your wrestler, sign contracts, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation. All included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users, totally free. If you are all in, I mean all in, for the All In promotion September, then you need to get your All In merchandise. Go to frowrestling.com, scroll to the middle of the page where you can grab the link to go directly to the All In store. Grab your merchandise, support the Young Bucks, support Cody in their endeavor to really bring some attention to indie wrestling. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts like our good buddy Harold in St. Louis, then check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast and sign up today. And look, we normally have our loyalty rewards program. $25 contributors get to co-host an episode. $10 a month contributors get a drawing to co-host an episode. Well, we're changing that for this episode. All $10 contributors will get an opportunity to co-host an episode of Going Live with me, Mr. Fro, for the Pro Wrestling Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this live episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget, we have our all-time Dream Tournament matches going on right now, and we are into the Final Four round. The Final Four is live tonight. Go online. We have a great final two matches, the final four superstars of our Dream Match Tournament. Check that out at frowrestling.com. The voting will close a week from tonight. Next Saturday night, we will close the votes, and we will tabulate, and we will see what our final Dream Match will be in this tournament. This has been a fun tournament. You guys have done a great job of putting together some really great fantasy booked matches by the way of the results that you guys have brought about through all your voting and casting of your votes. So I'm very curious to see what you guys do with this, and we'll see what that matchup is next Saturday night. So before we go any further, if you have questions, you have comments, things you want me to discuss on the show, if you want to do it live, you got to go through the chat function, whether you're going through frowrestling.com, go into Spreaker, iTunes, whatever function you're using, whatever streaming service you're using, if it has the chat function, pop your questions directly into there. I will try to address them immediately on the episode. If not, if your question is not of burning urgency, then you can go to the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160, and you can give your questions, your comments, anything you want us to cover in a future episode. And it's a talk to text service. You talk, it texts your words to me, and I can see what your thoughts and process is and what it is that you would like us to bring to the Pro Wrestling Podcast. And when you do that, make sure you put your name with your comment so I can give you a shout out on our episode for contributing to the overall quality of the show. Don't forget, if you are new to the Pro Wrestling Podcast, go to frowrestling.com. It is the homepage of the Pro Wrestling Podcast where you can check out and preview all the topics coming to the show. It's a great way to come up with all the questions and comments you'd like to ask us on that sound off line. So check that out if you have not done it previously. This episode, going to get this out of the way early, much like a WWE show. A lot of times people start their show with these somber notes. This week was a tough one for me. As a diehard fan of wrestling my whole life, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time was Vader. I really respected the fact that I started seeing Vader back when he was in the AWA. He was the baby bull, Leon White, taking on people like Stan Hansen for the AWA World Championship and people of that nature. And then he disappeared for a while, and then he turns up over in Japan when he becomes Big Van Vader. And he had a character that was so unique. He held world championships on multiple continents. He really established himself outside of the mainstream United States audience. And then when he finally did make his way to WCW, I'll never forget his debut, walking to the ring with the giant, mastodon face mask that blew smoke and steam and all that. It was just fascinating, and I was instantly drawn in. And for anybody who's like an old school video game player who loved like the Nintendo system, they had a WCW World Championship Wrestling, was the announcer spitting out the words on the video game. And if you played through that game and got to the final challenge, like you mowed through all the competition, you wrestled a guy who to this day I insist was based on Big Van Vader, a guy in a navy blue outfit with like a navy blue mask and red bolts of lightning on the face. It looked just like an old school Vader mask. And the reason we're talking about Vader, for those diehard fans, the ones tuning into this podcast probably are, as you know, Vader passed away this week at the age of 63. It was a very tough one for me to see. I know he announced maybe about a year and a half ago or so that he had been diagnosed with congestive heart failure and was given 2 years to live. And, when you see that kind of thing, you really hope that that's not going to be the case. It is my understanding through the Twitter feed that his son has been maintaining all week that he contracted pneumonia and he was fighting, but at some point his heart just couldn't take it anymore. And the wrestling world has lost yet another amazing, amazing talent. And here's the thing. I hear people debate all the time who is the greatest, who's the best worker, who's the best showman, best character, who's the greatest this, that, and the other. And you don't hear Vader's name ever brought up in that conversation. And I just want to reflect for a moment. Vader, his major impact started in 1993 when he takes... I apologize, 1992 when he takes the WCW World Championship from Sting. It really established him as a main event wrestler. He would go in WCW and really tear things up for quite a while and had matches with pretty much a who's who of anybody and everybody who is important in the world of professional wrestling. Sting, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, anybody who was in that company at that time, he was in the ring with. And when you saw him hit people, I mean, his feud with Mick Foley was something to speak of for all time. He's the guy, for those who don't remember, he's the one who was having a match with Foley over in Europe when Foley's head got stuck between the ropes and ended up ripping off part of Foley's ear. He's just such a great talent, and he's a big guy, and he could move like a lot of the cruiserweights. I mean, this guy was fast. He could do the moonsaults and the Vader bombs and all this stuff, and the heavy lumber that he would throw when he was cracking an opponent upside the head. I'll never forget the WCW Saturday Night episode where he literally broke Mick Foley's nose in the middle of the fight. Mick Foley, when he did his first WWE documentary reflecting on his career, talked about Vader breaking his nose, and in that match, how important that match was for Mick Foley's career. But it's just, he's such a unique guy. I remember when he came to WWE, I felt like WWE really blundered him. He should have been something special. He should have been put against the best of the best, which I guess in a lot of ways he was put against a lot of the best wrestlers, but he was never given the true main event push that I thought Vader deserved. He should have potentially taken the WWE Championship from Shawn Michaels. That didn't happen. Shawn Michaels didn't want that to happen, so it didn't happen. And at the end of his life, there's been Mick Foley and many others campaigning for a long time about Vader being put into the WWE Hall of Fame. That is long overdue. Vader is one of the most revolutionary big men ever in the industry. He's done it everywhere in the world. We're not talking about a guy who got it done in WCW and that's it. This guy, Catch Wrestling Association, New Japan Pro Wrestling, All Japan Pro Wrestling, wrestling all over the place, Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia, came back to North America, wrestled in South America. I mean, he literally wrestled everywhere and held a world championship everywhere he went. His career, in my opinion, is very, at least as far as big guys go. Yes, you've got Andre the Giant. He's going to stand above all. But after Andre, I would love to know who everybody would think would be better. I know I get a lot of Bam Bam Bigelow comments, and I respect Bam Bam Bigelow a great deal. But Bam Bam Bigelow never had the main event success that Big Van Vader did. Was he a great worker? Absolutely. And God rest his soul, I think Bam Bam Bigelow also belongs in the Hall of Fame and is an amazing talent. But I think that Vader, his induction is one that sadly WWE missed for way too long, and now if and when it happens, and it should happen soon, he would go in posthumously as he has passed away at the age of 63. Going to move on to The All In broadcast, yes, it was announced this week. Cody and the Young Bucks have made it clear the All In show will be broadcast, it will be distributed, and they want to see as many people get their eyes on the product as possible. This is something huge for All In. I think this could only help build the attraction for All In 2 next year, which everyone is still speculating is going to be held in New York City, despite what Cody said a few weeks ago. Look, Chicago is one of the biggest markets in the country. Philadelphia, New York, Los Angeles. I mean, there's only so many places you could take it and make it bigger than what it was this year, where you're in the most major markets for the pro wrestling business. Being a person who lives close to Philadelphia, I would love to see them come here and put on a show at like the Wells Fargo Center, or something of that nature, where they could be in a major arena, maybe put 25,000 people in an arena, and really set the stage for WWE to understand that it can be done with or without WWE's involvement. WWE's having a tough time selling out those size arenas right now. They're getting 8,000 to 10,000 people at a show, just like this All In show. Well, guess what? This All In thing feels special. All In 2 will feel special. So this is a great time for them to capitalize, and the broadcasting of the show can only make it that much bigger, and hopefully all the independent talent around the world, and hopefully some of the major promotions around the world will realize the exposure that this is going to bring and allow their talents to compete at one of these shows, because it would really go a long way in unifying the wrestling world, which is something, by the way, if you haven't checked out at Infro's Corner at ProWrestling.com, our blog, the latest article that we put up there is all about WWE looking for new partnerships. They announced this week that they have a deal with Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan. It's the first Japanese agreement that WWE's had since the 80s, when they had a deal with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So this is monstrous, and I know somebody, when I was putting together the article, they reminded me, Hulk Hogan went there in 93 as WWE champion and faced the Great Muta at one point. They wrestled each other, and then they teamed together to take on Road Warrior Hawk and Power Warrior, which was Kensuke Sasaki. I get it, but those aren't really WWE booking. That was Hogan taking outside bookings because he knew he was leaving WWE. But I really think that this is a huge thing, them pairing with Noah. We know that they've been talking to Evolve. We know that they've talked to ICW and Progress Wrestling and other various independent promotions, and it's time for, the big discussion to be, where do we go from here? WWE discussed, Triple H, I should say, discussed the possibility of doing a show with New Japan Pro Wrestling, something everybody would love to see. Interestingly, on that topic this week, Kenny Omega was interviewed, and he actually made reference to, he thinks he could handle working within the confines of a WWE program. The WWE shows the talents don't get a lot of time to work on a weekly television show, 5 to 7, maybe 10, 12 minutes, and that's it. They don't get the hour like he gets with Okada. And there are some people who are critical of Kenny Omega's matches, saying that the reason his looks so good and the reason he gets these high ratings is because he gets so much time in the ring. And some of that is true. I will give them that. But that's not the issue here. The issue is that it's not about the quantity. That just gives you a whole lot more. You could watch 10 Omega matches in a row if they were 7 minutes long and get the same hour and 13 minutes that they got at the last show when he won the championship. But that's not what we're talking about. The quality is what we're talking about. Kenny Omega is poetry in motion every time he's in the ring. So it was interesting to see him reference WWE. The Young Bucks also referenced WWE this week in one of their interviews, talking about how they were so impressed with WWE promoting the E3 appearance against the New Day last week so much. I thought that was a great way to open the doors to WWE working with various promotions, and I love that Triple H really wants to do anything that he feels is in the best interest of the business. And this is, I know best for business has kind of been done to death, but he really is trying to do that. And I hope that Vince is open to allowing him to do that, because I think there's so much that could be offered to the world of wrestling if they bring down some of those walls and start to really allow fans to see the things they'd like to see. Something we won't be seeing for a while would be Sami Zayn. He is out the remainder of 2018. He has a torn rotator cuff. Now, here's the thing. He had one before, if everybody remembers, when he came out, his debut on Raw when he was facing John Cena, and he was flapping his arms around like a fool and ended up tearing a rotator cuff, worked the match, and then was out for a year. Well, now he tore the other one, and the original one is also an issue, so he's technically has 2 torn rotator cuffs. He had one operated on this week. He will have another in a couple weeks, and he will be out the remainder of 2018. Hopefully when he comes back, he'll have full range of motion and can get back in the ring and do what he does. It's kind of a shame that he's going out when he's really starting to come into his own as a singles wrestler on Raw. I don't think they were ever going to put him over people like Bobby Lashley or Braun Strowman, even though he probably deserves, as much as anybody, a World Championship or a Universal Championship run. That's why I think they should have left him on SmackDown. But at least, hopefully, he'll come back and be in a lot better way, and he can hopefully carve out another niche program, getting him back into the main event. Somebody who's not going to be in anybody's main event anytime soon is Big Cass. As everybody knows, he's released by WWE earlier this week. All week long, we've been hearing all these news tidbits and rumors about why Big Cass was let go. Was it because they were still upset with him for going off script despite being told not to on the little person that was impersonating Daniel Bryan? Maybe that had a piece to do with it. But the word came out this week that one of the biggest issues they had with him was when they were overseas on the European tour, that he was a drunken fool half the time. Broke down a bus's bathroom door because he couldn't figure out how to work the lock. Made everybody very uncomfortable. People who needed to use the bathroom had to use the bathroom with like an audience. He's a drunken fool the whole time. And then when they come back, they're at SmackDown's taping last week, and they're in catering, and his former girlfriend, Carmella, current SmackDown Women's Champion, is in the back talking to the ring announcer, who she's friends with. And he immediately got jealous and started implying that there's, something going on between the two. First off, if there is, it's none of your business, Cass. She doesn't owe you anything. You two are over. Get over her. You're not her boss. Number 2, he seemed to be threatening the announcer, or at least that's what we're seeing in all these reported news outlets, that his attitude backstage was just horrendous. So he is released. Enzo Amore, was Real One as he's known now, was throwing some barbs at him, but now people are speculating that the two of them might reunite on the indie scene and go back to being a tag team. Well, maybe they should. That was the last time either one of them was interesting. And if anybody's listened to Real One or Enzo's new song, it's god-awful. So hopefully he doesn't stay with that kind of career. We were hoping to report about the new NXT Tag Team Champions that were crowned over in the United Kingdom. Mustache Mountain, who is Tyler Bate, and Trent Seven took the NXT Tag Team Championship from the Undisputed Era. Unfortunately, before coming home at the next set of NXT tapings, they lost the championship back to the Undisputed Era. Now, I think this makes a lot of sense because it establishes Mustache Mountain as the go-to team in the United Kingdom division. And as was announced last week, there is going to be a United Kingdom tournament, or I shouldn't say UK tournament, UK brand. It's going to be WWE NXT UK. Talk about all those letters in a row. WWE NXT UK. There'll be UK Tag Team Champions, Women's Champion. This, I don't want to say World Champion, but they have the UK Championship. And Mustache Mountain obviously are going to be the odds-on favorite to win the inaugural Tag Team Championship. We saw a lot of things happen at the WWE UK tournament. We had, if you are not familiar with the European scene when it comes to these different tournaments and whatnot, I know last year when they did the first UK tournament, I didn't know everybody that was out there, but this year, great talent. They had some NXT appearances. Adam Cole was there defending the North American Championship. We had the title changes over the 2-day event. Mustache Mountain winning the Tag Team Championship, losing the Tag Team Championship back on an NXT taping. Ligero was there winning a match. Noam Dar became the new number 1 contender to the UK title over Travis Banks and Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews. These guys are amazing. Adam Cole wrestled Wolfgang on the June 19th show for the NXT North American Championship. He defeated him. He retained his championship, but it got Wolfgang an opportunity to get in the ring with an amazing, amazing talent. Aleister Black and Ricochet teamed up. They defeated EC3 and Velveteen Dream in what was supposed to be a fantastic match. Shayna Baszler defeated Toni Storm. Toni Storm is the odds-on favorite to be the first NXT Women's Champion in the UK. And Pete Dunne retained his UK Championship by defeating the tournament winner this year, 2018's WWE UK Tournament. The winner was Zach Gibson, who is an incredible European wrestler, and I love that WWE is sucking up some of these talents and really giving them an opportunity to shine because they have so much to give. So hopefully we'll see more of them. Hopefully this WWE NXT UK brand will really take off and we'll get to see more of them. Daniel Bryan is in contract negotiations with WWE. He's been advertised for one of their super shows after he has left the company, or his contract has run out. I know they are probably working tirelessly trying to put together a contract for him. There is some interest on his part to be a part of All In the day that his contract expires. He joked in an interview about being able to wear a mask and like this phony outfit and taking the mask off after midnight to reveal who he is and whatnot. I don't care how they get it done, but WWE is insane if they don't sign Daniel Bryan, and it needs to be a long-term deal, 3 to 5 years minimum. So we'll have to keep our eye on that. But as of right now, Daniel Bryan is not under contract after September 1st, and there are conversations that he may not be returning because he's not real happy with the way things have progressed. They announced the round 1 matches for Chris Jericho's Cruise for the Sea of Honor tournament. It should be an incredible tournament. The matchups, there are 16 competitors. Jay Lethal's going to face BJ Whitmer in the opening round. Christopher Daniels versus Delirious. Marty Scurll versus Rhett Titus. Silas Young versus Flip Gordon. Mark Briscoe versus Will Ferreira. Adam Page versus Frankie Kazarian. Cheeseburger versus Beer City Bruiser. And Jay Briscoe versus Kenny King. If you are a Ring of Honor fan, all of those are good matches. I'm actually personally, if I had to pick one that I'm looking forward to the most, it's going to be the Christopher Daniels versus Delirious match. I think that has got the potential to really steal the show. Jay Lethal, I'm a huge fan of. I am actually pulling for him to win the tournament. I would love to see him get back on top of the Ring of Honor championship scene, but that has not happened since he lost the World Championship. Hopefully, this will be something that could get him back on track and get him closer to that. Otherwise, I'd like to see him go to WWE where they could showcase his talent. But we'll have to see. The Undertaker returning to the ring. He's going to face Triple H for the last time. They are going to headline that monstrous pay-per-view that they're going to be holding down in Australia. There's been a lot of conversation about what they were going to do. How are you going to attract 100,000 people in Australia? The Undertaker versus Triple H for the final time is a good way to do it. Rumor has it that Shawn Michaels will also be there as a guest referee, possibly for that match, much like the match at WrestleMania. I think that what's shocking to me is The Undertaker wrestled the last 5-6 years with debilitating hip condition. He had the hip surgery. Now he moves around like he's 20 years younger, and now he's like doing his final matches with people. Like it kind of sucks when you know the guy can go and he's being limited because of these different things. Still no word on whether he's going to appear at SummerSlam. Same thing with John Cena. Not sure if he's going to show up at SummerSlam. What John Cena will be showing up to, apparently, is the wedding with Nikki Bella. The wedding is back on, apparently. That is what's being reported, that John Cena and Nikki Bella have rectified their situation, that John Cena has even made reference to getting, like we needed to know, John Cena apparently had a vasectomy at some point to prevent him from having children. He's willing to have that undone to be able to have children with Nikki Bella. I hope he understands that less than 50% of reversed vasectomies actually work, so he may not be able to deliver on the kids that she wants anyways, even if he wanted to. But at least we now know that they are an item again. They're back together. They had a few months to sort through some things. There is a word out there that Nikki Bella may not trust John Cena in that he's actually being genuine about wanting to have kids and get married, but it sounds like they're going to move forward with the plans and reschedule and get back on track with that. This week, some of the big news was the G1 Climax. G1 Climax 2018 is going to take place July 14th through August 12th. It is a round-robin tournament. Block A and Block B have been announced. In Block A, Michael Elgin, Evil, Bad Luck Fale, Toji Makabe, Kazuchika Okada, Hangman Page, Minoru Suzuki, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Jay White, and Yoshihashi. What that tells you is we are guaranteed to see Okada versus Tanahashi yet again. Minoru Suzuki versus Okada once again. We're going to get to see some interesting ones like Bad Luck Fale versus Kazuchika Okada again. I'd like to see that. Bad Luck Fale taking on Tanahashi. Like, there's some really great matches in here in Block A. In Block B, Hiroki Goto, Kota Ibushi, Tomohiro Ishii, Tetsuya Naito, Kenny Omega, Juice Robinson, Zack Sabre Jr., Sanada, Tama Tonga, and Toru Yano. Now, the reason I'm so interested in this side is for two matches in particular. One, Kota Ibushi versus Kenny Omega. The Golden Lovers will have to face each other at some point in the G1 Climax. That should make for an amazing, amazing match. Number two, is for Tetsuya Naito and Kenny Omega to lock up. I have not seen that in the past in any substantial opportunity. The IWGP World Champion, and for those who paid attention to when I gave you the way New Japan needs to book the rest of the year, that is the match I think should headline Wrestle Kingdom. Kenny Omega defending the IWGP World Championship against Tetsuya Naito. I hope Naito wins the G1 Climax this year. I suspect they're going to give it to Kazuchika Okada. I hope not. I'm really pulling for Naito. And if it's not Naito, if it's not Okada, if it's somebody totally different, I'm actually pulling for Sanada. I'm a huge fan of Sanada's. I really want him to take the next step as a heavyweight, and I think this would be a great way to give him that opportunity to shine. Either way, the G1 Climax looks like it's going to be an amazing show. You have to check it out if you get New Japan World. If not, keep your eyes on Access Television. They are great about providing that kind of coverage relatively soon after the tournament takes place. In an update about Rey Mysterio is negotiating with WWE for a part-time schedule on a 3-year deal. That's the word. Now, they did tape Aero Lucha episodes already. Rey Mysterio was in the main events of the opening set of videotapings. Myself, I am a charter member of the Aero Lucha brand. It's my little contribution to the professional wrestling world. You too can go to the crowdfunding source for Aero Lucha and sign up for as little as $100. You could become part owner in Aero Lucha. Go out and check that out. But in the meantime, Mysterio negotiating with WWE to be back in the brand. I would love to see that. I think part of the negotiation is going to be a couple things. One, his son, he really wants his son to be able to become a professional wrestler. He is one now, but he wants to be on a bigger stage and get the benefit of the WWE Performance Center. So I think that'll be part of the contract negotiation. The number of dates is obviously going to be huge. And then another thing that I think is very important to Rey Mysterio is still being able to contribute to Aero Lucha. I think that since he is a majority owner in Aero Lucha, I think that he would be, it would be remiss of us not to mention that he should be given the opportunity to continue to promote his own brand, much in the way the Colognes, Carlito and Primo, get to go back home to Daddy Carlos Cologne's World Wrestling Council and wrestle every now and again, which one of them is doing this weekend, just for the record. So we'll have to keep our eye on what happens with Rey Mysterio. Ring of Honor and Madison Square Garden have been having issues all week, so those who don't know, Ring of Honor signed on to run a show on the Saturday prior to WrestleMania, going head-to-head with NXT TakeOver. MSG signed them on to do that because they were having issues with WWE, but they received one phone call from WWE and immediately contacted Ring of Honor and canceled the date. Now, Ring of Honor is promising legal ramifications from this, but in the end, cards are subject to change. They're not locked in. My understanding is it wasn't actually on paper. It was like the equivalent of like a handshake deal. So I don't know what kind of legal leg Ring of Honor will have to stand on. But the one company who's not taking it lying down is AAA. AAA out of Mexico had booked them for September, and apparently their booking is still on. I think the big reason WWE put the push on with Ring of Honor is because they literally were going to go head-to-head with NXT TakeOver. Had Ring of Honor picked a debut in, say, February, January, December, or something like that, I don't know that WWE would be giving as much pushback, and that would have been a better idea for Ring of Honor, because then you would have been able to cultivate the relationship with Madison Square Garden, show them the quality of the fan base that would show up to a Madison Square Garden show, and I really think they have a great following in New York, and now, instead, you kind of fell flat on your face. Hopefully, Ring of Honor gets it together and puts a show together at a very close venue for the same night. I would love to see what they would do going up to head-to-head with the NXT TakeOver brand. Ronda Rousey, look, I've wanted to talk about this all week. Her suspension angle, this is the dumbest thing in the history of life, I think. You need to promote her, not bury her. I understand Alexa Bliss is going to defend the Women's Championship against Nia Jax at Extreme Rules, and you're trying to keep Ronda Rousey out of the title picture for that month just to get the blowout from the Nia Jax return championship match. But look, you either have faith in the girl or you don't. If you do, let her get involved. Let her be the one that costs Nia Jax her chance. Have her attack Alexa Bliss so that Bliss doesn't have to beat Nia Jax. And then she still keeps the championship. Jax already had her rematch. The program is over. And then you can move on. Have Nia Jax work with somebody like Ember Moon or something. But in the meantime, get her away from the championship picture for a while, because you need to have time to build Alexa Bliss versus Ronda Rousey so that Rousey can take that title and take it to WrestleMania to face Charlotte. What I'm very curious is there's a rumor out there this past week that Charlotte is scheduled to win the SmackDown Women's Championship sometime in October or November, and that Rousey the same with the Raw Women's Championship, leading to a champion versus champion match to be the main event at WrestleMania. That is something I would love to see. The other piece we want to talk about this week, related to the women's division, and this is all courtesy of my buddy Harold in St. Louis. Harold, I wanted to put this out there because you specifically asked me to address this, because it's driving you crazy, driving me crazy too. WWE takes all the time in the world to build up a character and give them these undefeated streaks and all these things. Asuka goes on a tear, starting in NXT, moving to the main roster, and pretty much mows over anybody and everybody in her path. When she gets to the main roster, she gets here and her first couple matches look weak. Then they fire the girl who was putting on good matches with her. And then she's put into nonsensical programs through the wintertime, leading to a match at WrestleMania where she's undefeated, 300-400, whatever the win total was. I don't even remember because I couldn't care less. The reality is she's undefeated. And she goes in facing Charlotte. Now, if you didn't want to have Charlotte lose, don't put her in against Charlotte. You should have had her go against Alexa Bliss. And that way you could have had her win a championship rather than lose. Instead, she goes to Mania, she loses to Charlotte, which kills all the momentum of the undefeated streak. Then the creative geniuses of WWE, they're so forward-thinking, couldn't come up with anything for her. Nothing. Then you put her into a program on SmackDown with Carmella and have James Ellsworth come out and cost her another win. Now she's lost twice. Her last two premium matches were at WrestleMania and this past weekend, and she lost both pay-per-view matches. What sense did it make to build up all that undefeated streak just to have her squashed by probably the best female talent in your company is fine, but then follow it up with a loss to one of the least talented female wrestlers in your company? It's an absolute travesty. It's destroyed any momentum that Asuka had, and it is really an indictment on the booking of the WWE creative team because they are absolutely destroying Asuka's character. And let's face it, she's not a spring chicken. She's been in the wrestling business for quite a long time. If you're going to hit with Asuka, you need to strike while the iron was hot. Now you've kind of missed the boat. I don't know how you build her back up to being a world championship contender when you're trying to build to Charlotte versus Ronda. I don't see how that happens. The other person I don't know what they're going to do with is Braun Strowman. That's our main ending topic tonight, is what to do with Braun Strowman after Money in the Bank. After Money in the Bank, he walks out with a briefcase. Rumor has it he's the safety valve if the Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns match is a complete flop at SummerSlam. One, we shouldn't be watching Roman Reigns go to SummerSlam. The fans made their point. WWE looked like they were going away from Roman Reigns. We actually were starting to get impressed. And it was looking like they might be putting Seth Rollins into that spot. Now, look, they could pull a swerve and still do that. We have this multi-person match coming up at Extreme Rules to determine the number one contender to the Universal title. But right now, Brock Lesnar's still not officially signed off to be at SummerSlam. And even if he was, who are you putting him against? Braun Strowman's not in the match. He already has the Money in the Bank briefcase. I say you put him in the match anyways. The briefcase gets you a shot when you're ready for it. Why use the briefcase if you can win it without using the briefcase? He should be in the match. We already know Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley will be in the match. Finn Balor will be in there. Seth Rollins will be in there. Kevin Owens will be in there. Possibly Jinder Mahal, Bobby Roode. There's a whole host of people who could be in the match. The reality is Seth Rollins should be the one to be facing Brock Lesnar. Now, I'm not a fan of this idea, but if you had Seth Rollins win the match and win the championship from Brock Lesnar just because you wanted to put him over Lesnar, then you could have Roman Reigns turn heel, cash in on Seth Rollins, and I'd be okay with him taking the title in that scenario because they'd finally turn him heel. But then what do you do with Braun Strowman? I apologize. I said that backward. I said about Roman Reigns cashing. Roman Reigns doesn't have the briefcase. Braun Strowman cashing in on Seth Rollins and then turning Braun Strowman heel. I'd be okay with that because Braun Strowman is so over. He could be that cool bad guy. Roman Reigns, let's keep him away from the championship for a while. I'm just saying. Unless you want to flip him heel. If you want to flip him heel, have him jump Seth Rollins after he beats Brock Lesnar. Have the two of them have a short feud. It makes Roman Reigns have a whole new level to his character. Let him be a heel for a while. Let Seth Rollins get the Universal title win that he should have had a long time ago, and then have Braun Strowman cash in on Seth Rollins at some point and take the title from him and head to WrestleMania to face somebody else. I really don't care. I don't know what you do with Braun because right now he's in this funky position where he's so good there's nobody that can beat him. But he's so good that you kind of want somebody to beat him just because it's almost like he's running away with things, and that's not always a good thing. So we'll have to keep our eyes on it, see what happens. That is all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We'll run down all the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, goes out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all the music and sound effects used in every single one of our shows. Today's podcast is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this new game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen to pick up your copy today. To Alley Repair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college, university life, you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our other website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. If you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, you got two places you can check out. One, www.tsj101sports.com. That's where you're going to see the latest news and articles on the world of professional wrestling. Or go to frowrestling.com, click on In Fro's Corner, my blog, and check out our latest articles. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.